Hello, the Sun-Gazette is honored to be joined today by the Republican nominee for Lycoming County Commissioner, Marc Sortman. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What can county government do within the next 4 years to achieve property tax relief?
That's a hard question because, obviously the tax roll is what the tax roll is. I know that the current board has spoken several times about a possible reassessment. Reassessment can help in some areas and maybe hurt in other areas. So you got to be very cautious of the way you would handle that and what the new rates would be when you do that. It's definitely the biggest thing that the county government can do to help with any type of property tax relief is start watching where the spending's going. That's the biggest thing. Stop some of the spending.
Should property tax relief be targeted to homeowners or elderly homeowners, or should it be pursued more broadly for all residential, commercial, and industrial properties, and why?
My opinion would be broadly across the entire spectrum, and the reason I would say that is during my tenure at Loyalsock Township, we lowered property taxes twice across the board. So the elderly got advantage of that, middle class, the wealthier, and your commercial also got advantage of that. What that did for Loyalsock is brought everything in. We got more housing, we got more businesses, and ironically, with a reduction of taxes twice, we still have as much income as we had prior to the first tax reduction because of the new commercial and residential that we brought in with it. So I think cutting it for everybody brings more into your community.
Okay. What is one program or service for which the county can cut spending? What is one program or service on which the county should consider increasing spending?
That's a very difficult question for me, not sitting within the commissioner's office at this point, so I'm not really sure where all the spending is. I'm sure there's plenty of programs that could be reduced. But again, I look at the big picture of the county, and I know like somebody might come up with a quick answer, oh, get rid of the golf course. But again, I'll use Loyalsock Township. When I came in Loyalsock Township, our swimming pool was losing money. Today our swimming pool makes money. And it's because we put our eyes on it and we fixed the problem. So I think every program you can look at and adjust something that fixes the program. Not necessarily do you have to cut spending in that program, but turn that program around if it's, say, losing money. But you don't want to take away the values that we have in our county or the values that we have in our residential areas. I mean, having a golf course is great for our golfers, but I don't think our non-golfers should pay for it. But I don't want to take it away because it's a value to Lycoming County. The swimming pool we have in Loyalsock Township, most municipalities closed them because they couldn't figure out how to make money. We turn it around, we make money, or at least break even. So again, do all our taxpayers get advantage of it? No. But the ones that do, it's a huge and great value in our community. So I wouldn't want to lose any of the programs within Lycoming County that bring a value to all residents of the county.
How can the county better assist municipal police services?
That one has been obviously me coming from Loyalsock Township where we do not have a police department. I've taken a lot of criticism over the years for Loyalsock not having that. I've also had many discussions with former Mayor Dorn of Montoursville of police departments. We've had the conversations with the state police over the years. About 10 years ago, they had offered a program where they would put police officers within the community. When you talk about regionalization, and I don't mean anything negative towards any local police department, but regionalization, you have your state police. That is a regionalization of the police department. I think we got to utilize either our sheriff department or our state police to give some relief to the local municipalities that do have police departments in them because it's cost them a fortune, and those residents are suffering from it.
Okay. What improvements or changes to the county's criminal justice system, whether it be the courts, prosecutors, or supervisory services, should the commissioners recommend?
Again, not being as familiar with the court system, I don't know that there's any, I'm definitely a firm believer of don't try to change something or fix something that isn't broken. I'm not sure that a lot of that's broken. I think just the toughness, if I can say that, on the criminal system or the criminals themselves is where we need to improve. I think that our current DA, Ryan Gardner, has done a tremendous job cleaning up backlogs so that they can look at current as opposed to old cases. And I think, he's unopposed. So Mr. Tom Marino, will be our next DA. And I think from his past practices, you'll see that Tom takes a much stronger approach to the criminals as well. And I think that's what's going to clean up Lycoming County's program of the courts and justice.
Okay. How can the commissioners encourage job creation?
I think you got to go back to that original, or one of your early questions, of tax relief. Tax relief is what's going to bring business in. Again, not to say that Loyalsock's anything wonderful, but that's the past that I can lean on and say, what did we do? So in Loyalsock, where we did give that relief, we got more businesses. It's just a proven fact within the county. We've grown faster than any other communities because of things like that. When someone reads in the newspaper there's a tax reduction, they start looking at, hey, what's it cost for my business to operate in Loyalsock as opposed to my business to operate somewhere else? We have to do that countywide. Countywide, we got to look at it. And I've also questioned over the years as a commissioner or as a township supervisor, who's the person that goes and talks to these developers? Because I noticed the Selinsgrove area that grew real big and we didn't. Now we're starting to get some of that stuff. But I think as a county commissioner, something that I would do different is have more conversations with developers of who we can bring in, because that's where we're going to get our jobs.
How can the commissioners encourage the construction of new housing?
Again, I think it's back to that tax base. If our county's taxes are lower than Clinton County's, we're going to get those people in our area. So that's what we got to look at. What are our neighbors doing with tax rates for property? The other thing that I think will be a conversation down the road is infrastructure. How do we put the infrastructure in better, or who pays for the infrastructure maybe as opposed to just a private developer, because those are some of the things that hinder new development. And if you're going to look for, I think one thing we're short of in the county is more moderate, lower priced housing. No one can afford to build that and make any money, so they're not going to do it. So you got to help in that mid-ranged priced house. So,
what is the most important attribute or characteristic of a county commissioner?
I'm going to say professionalism and being able to communicate with the public. I feel the commissioner's role, the number one part of a commissioner's role, as my role has been as a township supervisor, is listen to the residents, listen to the business owners. What do we need here to help them grow? And that's the most important thing. You got to be able to be professional about it. You got to be able to communicate well about it. And you got to be able to bring it back and actually do something. Meetings are great, but if you're not creating an answer, the meeting's worthless.
Are there any issues or priorities you haven't touched on yet that you would like to? No, I'm very happy with our current commissioners. I am thrilled that they've made the decisions in the last few months for the coroner's office. That was a huge problem that we've had. I had spoke with our coroner prior to my election, saying, listen, if I win in November, you and I are going to sit down. We're going to make this happen. I think in the last few months, and I know it takes a long time. Commissioner Mercer said a couple of things that they've worked on. He started on in the beginning of his career as a commissioner. I know I've done the same thing at Loyalsock Township. Things don't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time. I think they put a lot of good things to bed in the last few months, and I will look to do the same thing. If it's Scott Metzger and myself and the Democrat winner in the election, we're going to make progress. We're not going to just sit around and talk about things. We're going to make things happen. Some people may like and some people may not like, but we're going to make decisions and move the county forward. I would say in a positive manner, and we're going to make Lycoming. I would say there's nothing wrong with Lycoming County. I'd like to say that right up front. I think we live in a great community. What I want to do is make it just a little bit better
in the next 4 years, possibly 8 years that I serve as a county commissioner.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.